evening. What a pleasure to be part of this great program. Thank you, leadership, the leadership of the JJM Foundation, for giving me an opportunity to speak on this important topic. What a pleasure. So as I wait for other people to tune in, I just want to encourage us that if you think that someone can benefit from this topic of tonight, where we are talking about the leadership lessons to the top, please share this live broadcast. Please tag someone or send the link to their WhatsApp or any other medium in which you can be able to reach. But I want to encourage us that let us take time. The next 15 to 20 minutes, let's talk on this topic of the leadership lessons. The leadership has already introduced me as Queen Munyai. Okay, in the corporate world, I'm the CEO of the Consumer Goods and Services Ombud. I am a community builder. I am the founder of the Baswa Mentorship Foundation. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a friend. Yeah, everything else in between. So along the way, I want to share some of the lessons that I've picked up along my way. I would be considered as one of the leaders, and I believe that there are some lessons that I can share with someone that can make them grow in their leadership journey or inspire them to do more. Because I believe that we are all leaders in our own spaces. There are different leadership areas. Think of a house setup, a home. A home has a father and a mother and children where possible. In that space, in terms of the Bible, a husband is regarded as the leader of that family. Obviously, a wife will then be a deputy leader, I believe. So, a leader, a co-leader, I believe. In the community, we have community leaders. We have political leaders. We have leaders in the sports fraternity. We have in the health fraternity. Right now, as we are going through the COVID-19 era, and we've been over the past 2 years, we needed leadership in that area of health so that they can inform how we move forward. Even the other professionals who are professionals in their own spaces had to submit to the leadership of the health fraternity so that they can get guided on how we can manage this pandemic. In the church space, there are leaders. So in one way or another, you find yourself having to submit to the leadership depending on the time and space in which you are moving. So how would we describe leadership? Leadership encompasses the ability of an individual, a group or an organization to lead or influence or even guide others. According to Bob Rayner, who is the CEO and founder of Talk Fusion, he says that leadership is about having a selfless heart, and we're always being willing to reach out and lend a helping hand. And I believe strongly. That's why I always say that we are all leaders. Because as long as you can see a gap and see the need to step in and make a difference, for me, I would see you as a leader in that space. Because I don't believe that there's one person who knows it all. And I don't believe that there's someone who does not know anything. So if every one of us can take their space and believe that they will make a difference. I always refer to a notion of a system. If we look at a vehicle, for instance, a car has different parts. Every part of a car has a role that it plays for that vehicle to find itself moving. You may look at a starter and think, okay, starter, it's a small thing. and you think that perhaps big tires, rims are the important things in a car. You can think that an engine is the important thing. You can think that the body of a car is an important thing. But I believe that in every aspect of that car, each one of them is playing a role to make sure that a vehicle moves. Even if you have new tires, if the starter is not working, that car is not going to move anyway. Even if you can overhaul the engine or do whatever that you like, if a smallest part of the car is not functioning the way it should, you'll find that that experience of driving from one point A to another is not going to happen because of a smallest thing that is not functioning. So I think of an organization or any movement as a system. And if we begin to look at it that way, that means we'll start to value other parts or other people that are around us, because we can always draw from the experience or the interaction thereof. So this made me to look back into my experience or my life from when I was young. Most of the people that I grew up with will testify that they've always seen some leadership traits in me. But what you wouldn't know is the fact that I grew up being extremely shy, and I avoided attention by all means. So I would consider myself as an introvert. And generally, a person who is an introvert, you would think that they cannot be seen as leaders. But to my surprise, when I look at my high school days, I was nominated as one of the prefects. We used to call them prefects, the leaders at the Kweba Commercial School where I studied. At tertiary, when I registered at the University of Venda, we used to have the student Christian movement. I found myself in the leadership there. When I started to work, for my sins, I would find myself being part of some committee who's busy organizing something, Even if I do not raise my hand, I would find myself, somebody will, nominate me or put me in a space where I have to exercise some kind of leadership. Sometimes even without knowing it. As a church girl, I also remember that in the days where I was fellowship at the Apostolic Unity Church in Kuvi, at a very young age, I used to be one of the youth leaders. So, everywhere I found myself, I was given an opportunity to lead in one way or another. All this happened with very little effort on my end. But the leadership traits showed up in that space, which led me to a long-standing debate whether leaders are born or made. What do you think? Do you think leaders are born or leaders are made? You can put a comment in your comment in the chat box. Let's see what you think. But based on my own experience and my observations, I believe that leaders are 30% born and 70% made. So this is a topic for another day. We can talk about it further. You can tap from your own experience, your observations. What do you think? Do you think leaders are made or born? I believe that is a combination of two, because even those that are born with those leadership traits, if they sit and do nothing, the chances are that they will not lead or they will not take a step. Sometimes they will not even recognize that they have some leadership qualities that they need to exercise in their lives. So even with some leadership traits, I believe that one still needs to embark on some leadership development programs in order to grow as a leader. I believe that I'm not the same person as I was 20 years ago. I am growing every day. I'm learning every day. So because of those lessons that I'm learning, both from the positive and negative situations that I come across in my life, I believe that I'm growing as a leader. I'm becoming a better leader every time. I believe that setbacks are there to equip us for the journey ahead. We are created to fulfill a purpose in life, And I believe that each and every experience that I find myself going through, it's contributing in the person that I am becoming. So I want to share some of the lessons. I think today I'll only talk to 4 items. 4 of the many lessons that I picked up along the way. And as I always said, I'm still learning. I haven't arrived yet. I think that there's still a long journey ahead. Let's talk to work ethics. I've spoken about my first job. I started at Standard Bank in Thohoyandou as a data capturer. I used to be called, that's a fancy name for it. I used to be called the waste clerk. Those that know will remember. You know, I believe that the value that one places in their work will determine how their story will end. I've always been diligent in my work, and the people that I've worked with who are listening tonight, or some who will stumble into this live broadcast, will testify that I've always been that girl that put so much diligence in what we do, in what I do. I soon moved into becoming a teller at the bank, and that's where I spent most of the time in my banking years, as a teller. And then I became team leader and moved along some different ranks within the bank. But as a teller, a lesson that I want to pick up there is that there was an exercise that we did every evening after doing the work of the day. You had to do what we called balancing. I think in the retail space, they will call it cashing up. I think that's the term that is used mostly. So for any reason, if when I am cashing up, I find that I do not balance, I wouldn't sleep. I wouldn't even, just give up like that. I will try and trace my steps for the day, follow up every transaction that I did for the day to try and find that mistakes that I would have done, to make sure that I balance. The same happens. It also happened when I moved to Pretoria. I went to join a branch which was based in Gezina, which had an agency in Queenswood. And I was appointed to look after the auto bank machines. I used to load them, count the money, do everything there and balance them also. So when I arrived there, there was a belief that ATMs never balance, because sometimes they will overpay someone, or, they will short pay someone. There will always be things. So it was acceptable that they wouldn't balance. So when I arrived there, I changed the status quo, because they started to see that actually ATMs can balance. So that talked to my integrity, reliability, dependability, and hardworking ethos, which I think that if we can learn from those things, if you want to go far, if you want to go to the top, you need to move along with those qualities. We need, even in today's world, we need leaders who have integrity, leaders who are reliable, leaders who are dependable, and who are hard workers. I believe that hard work always pays off. It doesn't matter how little the task is. If you put all your effort and do your best there, you will make a difference, and there is no possibility that you will be ignored or you will be missed. Let us move on to the another item where we focus on the culture of continuous learning. Successful leaders don't stop learning. To be a successful leader, one needs to develop a teachable spirit. I spoke earlier about the fact that you need to learn from other leaders. And in fact, there are areas where you have to depend on other people's leadership, or their leadership in the areas in which they are experts. So even as I grew in my journey, I began to look for people around me whom I can learn from. Sometimes I will do this with them knowing, or sometimes without even them knowing. I will just look at, observe what they do, how they do it, and start to learn from that. That helped me to grow and also gain the confidence, and also, slowly deal with the shyness as I grew along. So, as I always say, I am much better than the way I was those years back. I also agree with Dr. Wanda Wallace, who says that your role as a leader is to bring out the best in people, even when they know more than you. So it's okay for people to know more than you while you are leading them. And in my current role as the CEO, I feel that, in fact, that's what is needed. Because when I have people that are experts in their areas, it adds value, and I allow them to be, so that we can together produce the objectives of the organization, or we can be able to deliver on our mandate. I have to allow everybody to become and to exercise their leadership in their areas of where they are appointed to do. In fact, that is what we need. As a leader, I don't believe that you will know everything. There is no one who will know it all. There are areas where you need to rely on others. So, as they always say, that if you want to walk fast, walk alone. But if you want to walk far, walk with others. Think about that also. You are not an island. No one is. You need other people around you for you to make it in every space, in every aspect that you are trying to work on. Let's move on to the third item, where I want to just say that just because you are taking long or longer than others, it doesn't mean that you are not going to arrive where you are going. In your journey of life, you will arrive even when you are taking longer, because sometimes we are tempted to compare ourselves with others in such a way that we beat ourselves up if we compare ourselves with others, and we think that we are not doing our best or we are not doing well. Leadership is not a smooth and downward road. You will come across obstacles. You will fall along the way. You will be criticized. You will sometimes be accused. You will desire to throw in the towel sometimes. But all I want to say tonight is that focus on what you do, or on what you are best at, what you are good at. Focus on that. I remember when I registered for my first degree at the University of Venda, as I said earlier. By the way, this issue, I was influenced by my sister, whom I'm always grateful for what she has instilled in me. It's some kind of leadership that she showed in my life, to continuously study and never stop developing myself. So there were challenges that I came across along the way, which could have potentially led to giving up, but I kept on going on. For an example, when I registered on the first year, I wanted to become financial accounting, but my mathematics was not good enough to be admitted in that space. So I had to find a way to still get to where I wanted to go, even if it was going to take longer. I registered for BA education, and I measured with the commercial subjects that I needed, with the aim that in the following year, then I will switch to the degree that I wanted to do, which was the Become Financial Accounting. So after that challenge, when I overcame that challenge, another challenge came along, financial difficulties in the family, where I couldn't continue with the studies, but I never gave up. I had to find a job, which is why I started to work at a young age. I got a job and studied part-time. That's another way of overcoming those obstacles that we always come across on the road. So I could have given up during that time, but I thought, okay, instead of dropping off completely, let me study part-time. And I never allowed myself to be discouraged and giving up and comparing myself with others. So as a result, a 3-year degree ended up taking much longer than what you can imagine. So when obstacles happen, don't quit. Don't beat yourself up. Don't give up. Forgive yourself and try again. When that happens, continue on the journey. When you are tired, learn to rest and not to quit. So lastly, I want to talk about another topic which is very close to my heart, which is the area of mentorship. I'm a strong believer of the notion of lifting as I rise. I learned late in my career that it is necessary to have a mentor. In fact, if I got a mentor earlier, I think the journey, which could have taken more than 25 years, would have been cut shorter, much shorter. Which is why I will be soon launching a program which is called Baswa Mentorship Foundation. I believe that the young people don't have to struggle like we did. Instead of learning from their own mistakes, they can learn from ours. So please continue to watch my space or this space and learn more as the developments unfold. You can follow me on Facebook. I am Queen Elerani Munyai, and my Twitter handle is @QueenMun, M-U-N, which is short for Munyai. Follow me on those platforms. I'm also on Instagram as Queen Munyai. I believe that there's much more that we'll continue to learn from one another. But also, drop your comments on the comments or the chat box so that we can expand further on this topic. If we need to move on further, or maybe we need to have part 2 of this, we will do so. But the idea is that we help each other to develop or learn from one another. Thank you for taking time to tune into this live broadcast. I believe that you have been inspired. You have also learned a lot. If there's anything that you have learned, drop that comment on the chat box. Would like to hear from you. Thank you for lending us your ears. And I believe that we are going to continue to learn from one another. Thank you and enjoy your evening further.